Now, some parents have asked, and been concerned about the fact that Respen-A contains an ingredient that is from a drug, and that's true. The active ingredient in Respen-A is something called Reserpine. Reserpine comes from an Indian herb called snakeroot, and the name of it is Rauwolfia serpentina. Now, in 1955, the FDA approved Reserpine for the treatment of hypertension. Now, Reserpine isn't really being used for hypertension anymore, or if it is, not to a significant degree. There's too many other high blood pressure medications now, but it was approved for that purpose. The dosage range that was used was 0.1 to 0.5 milligrams. The actual amount of Reserpine found in Respen-A is 0.01 milligrams. So you're talking about 10 to 50 times less Reserpine in Respen-A than was found in the other forms of Reserpine for high blood pressure. Now, in the autism community, Respen-A was first introduced around November of 2008, and there was a small study that was done tracking some kids over about a year between November 2008 to November 2009. The results were quite promising, and so a press release was released based on this treatment, and parents started using it. Now, in 1957, in the Journal of Mental Disorder and Disease, there was actually a study that was using Reserpine in a group of autistic children. Now, they were using an oral elixir between 3 to 7 milligrams as a dose. Now, think about that. The treatment dose for hypertension through the FDA approval was 0.1 to 0.5 milligrams. In this journal back in 1957, they were using 3 to 7 milligrams as an oral elixir in autism. And what they found was in these groups of kids, much better communication from a verbal standpoint, eye contact, much less self-stimulatory behavior, better socialization, improved general awareness, willingness to play, willingness to socialize, etc. The same types of things that we're seeing with kids who are doing the Respen-A therapy, and honestly, the same types of things I see with other therapy like methyl B12. Some kids had side effects of excessive sleepiness, some had dry mouths, nothing that was too significant. When they pushed the doses upwards of 10 to 12 milligrams, some kids started to take on some adverse neurological behavior, kids sort of manifesting like with Parkinson's and Parkinsonian type symptoms. But again, we're talking between 200, maybe 300 to 700 times the amount that was actually used in that research study back in 1957 than what's being used today through the Respen-A patch. So the dosage range aren't even close, but the overall benefit that's being seen is, okay? So again, the eye contact, the socialization, the general awareness, the improvement in speech quality, that appropriateness of speech, the deliberateness of speech, those are the main things that I've seen in my practice. So I want to get that out there because there's been a lot of misconception about what Respen-A does, and when comparing the actual amount of Reserpine and Respen-A to the amount that was in medications for high blood pressure, and even in the amount that was used in this early study in 1957.